The early monsoon rains has continued to cause havoc in various places across the country. The scale of damage caused by Melamchi River has surprised many environmentalists as they are left to ponder whether the Melamchi mayhem was triggered by the amount of rain received prior to the disaster or there were other factors responsible for the wide-scale damage. Good morning, I'm Abhyuday Shrestha and these are the headlines of the hour. Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli says the House of Representatives was dissolved and midterm elections announced as the possibility of the formation of an alternative government was ruled out. The Office of the President says it rejected the call for government formation, viewing that there was no concrete basis for both the claims to win the confidence vote. Iranians to elect a new president today, with all but one of the four candidates to succeed Hassan Rouhani regarded as hardliners. Opinion polls suggest conservative Shia cleric Ibrahim Raisi to be the clear favorite. And Belgium defeat Denmark 2-1 and the Netherlands blank Austria 2-0 to advance to the round of 16 of Euro Cup. Brazil thrash Peru 4-0 in Copa America. Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli has said that he dissolved the House of Representatives based on the verdict of the Supreme Court. In his response to the Apex Court that had asked him to furnish clarification within 7 days, Premier Oli said that the claim of Nepali Congress President Sherbahadur Deuba for the premiership was not sufficient. Premier Oli also argued that lawmakers are not allowed to violate party discipline by supporting a candidate from the opposition faction. We have more in this report.
Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli, in his response, emphasized that the signatures used by the opposition alliance should not be given official status, stating that the Constitution has envisaged the multi-party system and has not envisioned party-less system. Prime Minister Oli argued that lawmakers from his own party cannot sign to support the candidate of opposition alliance, adding that lawmakers are not allowed to violate party discipline. Premier Oli claimed that the argument that lawmakers are not obliged to follow party whip while selecting the Prime Minister in accordance to the subsection 5 of Article 76 of the Constitution was not in line with the spirit of the Constitution and parliamentary system. Prime Minister Oli interpreted the writ petitioner's argument that discipline should be observed only in the opposition party but not in the ruling parties as an intention to split the parties. Prime Minister Oli, in his response, questioned the claims submitted by the opposition alliance at the President's office with signatures of 149 lawmakers, citing that many signatories did not sign with a motive to appoint the opposition leader as the Prime Minister. Claiming that the Supreme Court can only interpret the constitutional and legal provisions, Premier Oli insisted that the court cannot move ahead with the appointment process. The Prime Minister argued that it was a purely political issue within the jurisdiction of the President and the court cannot play the role of legislative or executive. Prime Minister Oli also questioned whether the CPN-UML will be the ruling party or the opposition if Sherbahadur Deuba would be the Prime Minister with the support of his lawmakers. Premier Oli said that he had legitimate expectations of the premiership as he had support of 153 lawmakers but later accepted that President's decision to reject his claim. Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli reasoned that the House of Representatives was dissolved and midterm elections were announced as the formation of an alternative government was ruled out. Prime Minister Oli defended his move, citing that he had taken a political decision, adding that such cases should not be taken to court in the first place. The Constitutional Bench will continue hearing on the issue from Wednesday next week.
Meanwhile, the Office of the President has replied to the Supreme Court saying that it could not appoint a Prime Minister as there was no concrete basis for both the claims presented under Article 76(5) of the Constitution to win the confidence vote. In the reply submitted through the Office of the Attorney General yesterday, it is mentioned that both KP Sharma Oli and Sherbahadur Deuba got support from lawmakers of rival parties, which was against the decision of the concerned parties. The clarification has mentioned that the claim of Nepali Congress chief Deuba, who was nominated from the opposition alliance, taking the support of CPN-UML and Janata Samajwadi Party, could not be endorsed, as both the concerned parties had written asking not to recognize them. In reply, it has been stated that the president has the right to ensure if the Prime Minister could win a confidence vote from the House of Representatives. The office of the president replied that Deuba had filed his claim, including the decision from only 2 parties, while in the case of other parties, there were no supporting documents, along with doubts raised over the signatures of the lawmakers. Claiming that the president has the right to take all the decisions related to the appointment of the Prime Minister, it is mentioned that the jurisdiction of the writ will not be drawn, and neither is it a case for judicial review. Meanwhile, Speaker Agni Sapkota, in his written clarification, has argued that the House of Representatives cannot be dissolved until there is an option for a new government. Speaker Sapkota claimed that the formation of a new government from the lower house still cannot be ruled out. The Tuesday night floods in Sindhupalchok devastated Helambu and Melamchi Bazar. Even as Sindhupalchok was prone to rain-induced disasters every monsoon, Helambu and Melamchi were considered relatively safer areas. The scale of the disaster in Melamchi and Helambu has surprised local authority and residents alike. More in this report.
Melamchi, Yangri and Larke, the 3 rivers, originate from Langtang mountain region. On Tuesday, landslides struck Helambu Narcotica, which triggered a mud flow up to Amdathan, Timbu and Talamarang, a distance of 22 kilometers. In the meantime, floods from Larke and Yangri conjoined with Indravati, along with mud flow from Helambu, remained blocked for some 7 hours. The blocked waters burst, wreaking havoc in Helambu's Timbu, Kiwal and Chanote before hitting Melamchi Bazar. One entire settlement in Helambu was wiped away, while the mud flow inundated settlements in the vicinity. Within some time of the reports of the havoc in Helambu, the mud flow started causing massive devastation in Melamchi Bazar, wiping out 2 motorable bridges on its way. The incessant rains have also hampered rescue efforts in Melamchi region. The Melamchi Mayhem is a timely reminder to the authority that the water-induced disaster could be very different than usual protection, and that the disaster management mechanism in the country needs to remain on its toes against disasters of similar scale.
The country continues to reel under coronavirus as 39 deaths were registered in the country yesterday, taking the death tally to 8,597. Meanwhile, the total number of COVID-19 cases in the country has reached over 615,000 as 1,768 more individuals tested positive for the virus. The Kathmandu Valley alone reported 570 positive cases yesterday. According to the Health Ministry, 7,711 tests through the PCR method were carried out, while the infection rate in the country now stands at 22.9%. 2,141 individuals registered full recovery, taking the recovery tally to over 5.45 million, while the recovery rate stands at 88.6%. Based on the Health Ministry's report, 57,531 of the infected are currently in home isolation, 916 in intensive care units, and 249 on ventilator support. In our Public Voice segment, we had asked the local residents in Palpa what are the problems faced by the farmers during the farming season. Let's take a look at what they had to say.
गोरु चाहिँ बेलामा पाइन्न थोरै परिवारले मात्रै गोरु पालेका छन् गोरु ल्याउनलाई एउटा समस्या हुन्छ त्यही भएर यो बेलामा रोपाई चाहिँ गर्न पाउँदैन
सबभन्दा कमी चाहिँ मलको अभाव
खेती गर्दा बाँदरले खान दिन्नन् अब झड्यामा बिउ राख्न हुँदा पानी पाइन्न
गोरु नपालेपछि मल अब कताबाट होस् हैन त्यही मलहरु हुन्नन् के अब विकासे मल फेरि अब कोही बेला राम्रै पाइन्छ कोही बेला पाइन्न
आकाशे खेतीको भरमा चाहिँ किसानहरु चाहिँ भर पर्नुपर्छ
पानीको समस्या छ पानी आउँदैन खेतमा अब तारी खेतमा
किनेर ल्याएको बिउको उत्पादन हुन नराउनुसित बिउ कम पर्न सक्छ
It's time now for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion. And here's the question. Why has Nepali Congress rescheduled its general convention time and again? Your options are A, effect of pandemic, B, internal dispute, and C, unwilling leadership. The voting is on. Type NEWS, select your option A, B, or C, and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. And that's all for the moment. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.